Wade and Wade reacts.
We have a subscriber request to react to another Templin Institute video about the Orks, so let's get into it.
In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. Each day, on a million worlds, armies clash in an eternity of carnage and slaughter to the laughter of thirsting gods. Across the galaxy, disparate forces muster their fleets in the grim hope that one day, victory might be claimed for the Emperor, the ruinous powers, the greater good, or 1,000 other lost causes. Most fail to realize that the universe in which they exist will not suffer any lasting triumph. Another day's survival is all that can be achieved. In this galaxy hostile to every form of civilization, only one has managed to not only endure, but thrive. They are the most successful race encountered by man, seemingly built for war in every aspect. They are crude, savage, and possess only a low cunning. But while the great works of races 1,000 times more advanced lay in ruins, the ramshackle designs of the Orks thunder onward. Ork physiology is fascinating, terrifying, and contradictory in equal measure. They exist as a complex interweaving of two symbiotic organisms that somehow have been genetically linked. One strain is akin to any number of terrestrial animals found across the galaxy, while the other is a type of fungus, which prevails throughout an individual orc's bloodstream and skin. The animalistic component of their biology carries the genetic information for an orc's subspecies, while the fungus seems to possess the genetic information of the entire race. This latter aspect exhibits many other curious properties, including some kind of ingrained genetic memory or knowledge, a type of biosynthesis, a latent psychic ability, and the capacity to quickly recover from injury. Their ability to withstand tremendous punishment is the defining characteristic of the Ork race.
For sure.
They feel surprisingly little pain, even when horrifically injured, and can recover from nearly any type of wound. Orcs that have been literally cut apart have been known to survive when stitched back together, and beheaded orcs, whose heads were then attached back on their own or another's body, have been able to fully recover as well. While any other species would weaken or tire when subjected to constant physical harm over a prolonged period of time, the opposite appears true for the Orks. They can survive grievous wounds with little apparent long-term consequences, save some superficial scarring, and instead seem to develop physically the more damage they are able to endure. The average orc stands much taller than a man, although their typical hunched stance makes this not readily apparent. Orcs will grow all their lives, and a particularly skillful orc will continue to become larger and stronger until they are beaten or killed. Orc reproduction remains barely understood, but revolves around how big the biggest orc is. Spore. If left undisturbed, entirely self-sufficient communities of orcs can arise from these spores years or even decades after their predecessors were defeated or driven away. Like the extragalactic Tyranids, the Orkoid race resembles an ecosystem composed of various subspecies arranged in a brutal hierarchy. Colloquially, these component species are referred to as greenskins. The first and least complex form of orc life to gestate are squigs. Squigs are themselves comprised of various subtypes used by higher forms of orc life for nearly every purpose. Oil squigs secrete a viscous black lubricant used to keep orc machinery functioning. Mending squigs can be used to suture limbs back in place, while facebiter squigs are little more than ravenous drooling mouths on legs, and kept by orc warlords as a symbol of status.
I thought he was just an orc dog at first.
Other forms of squig life include parasite hunting squigs, bag squigs, and the rare and bizarre squig pipe, utilized as a musical instrument. The most common squig is the eaten squig, a limbless blob that feeds on orc refuse, which is in turn consumed by higher orc species. Feared above all is the squiggle, which range in size from that of a main battle tank to the titans used by the Collegia Titanica. Next to emerge are snotlings, Far too scrawny and weak to bear weapons, and lacking the violent tendencies of their larger brethren, snotlings instead cultivate the large patches of fungi that spread wherever orcs multiply. They provide food, drink, and medicine to the orc race, and possess a natural affinity for squigs, which they raise and then train.
But the orcs don't seem to have any sanitary standards.
Snotling's only use is that of ammunition, fired from a cruel device known as the shock attack gun. Immediately above the snotlings in the greenskin hierarchy are the Gretchen, or grots.
Seems like all of their weapons and fuel comes from living creatures on their planet.
They are fast learners and quick to spot an opportunity or weakness. Within any orc tribe, most serve as laborers, scouts, thieves, or even assassins.
He looks like a thief.
The Gretchen's instinct for self-preservation borders on a rudimentary sixth sense, although this is often not enough to prevent them from being forced into serving as living shields, minesweepers, or emergency rations. The above-average intelligence of the Gretchen has led to the emergence of an underground economy within their normally orc-dominated society. Many Gretchen operate their own black market businesses, selling fungus beer, roasted squigs, or gambling enterprises. The level of sophistication present in these enterprises is almost unknown elsewhere in the Greenskin civilization, and enables the Gretchen to enjoy relatively comfortable lives, while still existing as slaves to their larger masters. These subspecies endure a symbiotic relationship with their orc overseers, trading menial tasks in exchange for protection. Within the orcs themselves, the social hierarchy is straightforward and brutal. They will instinctively obey those larger than themselves, and while some might rise to prominence through cunning or deception, most seize power and retain it through the application of brute force. At the head of every orc horde is a war boss or warlord, typically the biggest and meanest of his kind, who has risen through the ranks to primacy by winning battles and killing any other challengers. First and foremost a powerful warrior, the war boss will hold absolute authority in his tribe or warband. The decisions of the war boss are enforced by a crude ruling caste of orcs known as Novs. A type of nobility amongst the orcs by the loosest definition of the word, the Novs have earned a position of prominence due to their greater than average size and strength.
The one to the right is crazy
All
looking.
others in an orc tribe are referred to as boys. Depending on their specialty in combat, they may be known as Sluggaboys, Shootaboys, Ardboys, Wildboys, or Flyboys, while any orc intelligent enough to recognize which part of a grenade is thrown once the pin is removed is known as a stickbomber. A caste of specialists also exists within the boys, orcs who have been born with specific information programmed into their minds that are released once they reach maturity. These so-called odd boys include pain boys or mad dogs who use their
information into people's minds. How are they so sophisticated yet savage and unsophisticated at the same time?
Higher-ranking orc are the work of pain boys, although their work in this area has the tendency to explode without warning. Psykers, too, exist within the orc race, referred to as weird boys. Unlike those in other races, these weird boys draw upon the innate psychic potential of the orc species itself, rather than the energies of the warp. This type of psychic power has its own dangers, however. Should a weird boy soak up too much of this energy, his head may explode, and the resulting backlash also explode the heads of any orcs nearby. Mech boys, or mechaniacs, serve as engineers and technicians who build all the weapons, vehicles, and other technology used by the orc race. Like every other advanced process associated with the greenskins, their work is notorious for suddenly exploding. Orc technology is one of the least understood facets of their civilization. It is almost always ramshackle and slapped together, yet functions as well or better than anything comparable within other species. The impossible nature of orc technology is believed to be a result of their latent psychic powers. If enough orcs believe something is true, it will actually become so, brought into existence through pure will. As such, orc rockets
that's a
painted
formidable
yellow
opponent right
create
there.
bigger
Massive
explosions,
manifestation.
orc vehicles painted red will go faster, and orc guns are often nothing more than a box with bolts and bits of metal in it. This technology, such as it is the result of a constant stream of poorly thought-out experimentation and attempts to constantly outdo the competition. It is usually as deadly to its operators as to the enemy, and countless orcs have died in the pursuit of building the biggest, fastest, or meanest
I wonder what their
weaponry.
population is.
This simplistic and brutal approach is reflected in every aspect of what they call culture.
Mad Max type stuff.
Questions
With the
regarding the
straps in front.
nature of the
Yeah, that's what I was
universe that
thinking
have
of.
led entire civilizations to corruption and ruin never occurred to orcs in the first place. They have but one philosophy: might makes right, and not one orc has ever doubted this for a single moment. This unshakable self-belief is likely the most dangerous quality of the orcs. For them, the universe is a very simple and straightforward place, free of the angst and worry that plagues most other races. Orcs have little recognition for concepts like fate or destiny, and are not frustrated when their plans fail. Instead, they just try again, usually in a different way after forgetting how they attempted it the first time. Never does an orc reflect on their own weakness, instead making remarkable progress through bloody trial and error. As long as an orc
I wonder
has
what the
someone to
leaders are
fight,
like
someone
in the
bigger
orc
to tell him who
species.
to kill next, and someone smaller
Like,
to
who comes up with all the
abuse,
plans
he will
of what
know
they're gonna do
contentment. War and
That's a good
killing
question.
are their only real motivation, the one exception being the desire to possess even bigger and louder weapons or vehicles. Orcs are almost
wanna
always
fight.
engaged in a torrent of bloodshed and mindless violence, sometimes against the other races of the galaxy, but typically amongst themselves. Usually these conflicts are smaller scale or localized, and never develop beyond random outbursts of violence and looting. Sometimes, however, should a particularly skilled war boss achieve a string of successes, orcs will flock to his banner to share in his victories. Once this orc population reaches a form of critical mass, a WOG might be declared. Part military campaign and part migration, a WOG is a war on an apocalyptic scale. Orcs beyond counting swarm from one continent to the next, and eventually from world
The
to
perfect
world.
battle be the Orcs versus
As
the
tales of the
Tyranids.
WOG spread,
Yeah, it will be.
more orc
It's gone
clans
forever.
will rush to join, while any potential challengers are either
I think they would get
defeated and their
infected, or
clans
would the
subsumed,
fungus protect
or
them?
they will take control of
That's a
the
good
WOG
question.
themselves. As this campaign gains more and more momentum, the disparate clans within grow more unified until they represent an unstoppable force on the galactic stage. These WOGs rarely possess any clear objective, seeking only to unleash as much carnage as possible across the universe.
Just warmongers by
Within
nature.
orc culture, a WOG is the ultimate expression of their twin gods, Gork, who is brutal but cunning, and Mork, who is cunning but brutal. While they may seem identical to outsiders, Gork is said to be the god of clobbering, smashing, and killing, while Mork is the god of clobbering, smashing, and killing, while an enemy's back is turned. Orcs exist in every corner of the universe, and there is
see.
no environment too extreme for them to not only survive,
Both guys do the same thing,
flourish.
but have
They
different
have been
methods.
discovered on toxic death planets, depressurized orbital platforms, drifting ice floes, irradiated asteroid fields, inside corrosive swamps,
Oh, you need a
or
different
on
weapon. You need
lightless
some, like,
nightmare
melter or
worlds
something.
seething
That
with
cool.
horrific
Yeah,
predators. Even in the bombed-out remains of planets subjected to exterminatus, orcs can sometimes be found, and there are rumors of orc enclaves hidden within the Eye of Terror itself.
What?
These holdings vary from pirate outposts that prey on merchant shipping to system-spanning orc empires inhabited by tens of trillions of greenskins. These are normally divided into clans and tribes. Clans are massive groups of orcs who share an enduring philosophical viewpoint on greenskin life, while tribes are much
I didn't
less
think they were that
stable,
deep to have a
constantly
philosophy.
breaking apart and reforming. A single tribe might include orcs from many different clans, but for the most part, an individual orc's allegiance is to his war boss above his clan. While it can be difficult to distinguish all the orc clans, generally there are 6 that are truly widespread and found in almost every tribe in the galaxy: the Bad Moons, blood axes, death skulls, evil suns, goths, and snakebites. It is the dream of every aspirant war boss to one day unite the clans and tribes and usher in an even greater era of slaughter across the galaxy.
So they do have an end goal.
Many have come close. Clawjaw, the mighty mangler of Vork,
Just to slaughter
Tuska,
everybody.
the demon killer,
Right.
Snagrod, the arch arsonist, and Nazdrag Ugg Erdgrub. Above them all, however, is the self-proclaimed prophet of the Wog, known to the Imperium as the Beast of Armageddon, Ghazghul Mag Uruk Thraka. The single most influential orc in the galaxy, Ghazghul Thraka believes himself to be the instrument of Gork and Mork, destined to lead the greatest Wog of all time. This is in part due to the work of Mad Dog Brotsnek, whose cybernetic enhancements have supposedly allowed Thraka to speak to the great green gods of the orcs directly. Again and again, Ghazghul has unleashed his followers against the Imperial
Religion is running everybody in this world,
the Octarius Empire in their fight against the Tyranids. But as the time of ending approaches and the great rift of chaos spreads across the galaxy, it is clear that Ghazghul Thraka has his sights on a higher calling. Across every orc clan and tribe, rumors abound that Ghazghul will soon proclaim the Ragnarok, a time when every orc shall rise up to conquer the galaxy. In untold numbers, orcs have already started their migration towards the key battles of the Great Wog, and should Ragnarok finally be declared, there may be no force in the galaxy strong enough to withstand it.
Now the orcs have to be the craziest race that exists in the Warhammer 40k universe.
Yeah, this was a good video. Shout out to the subscriber that asked us to check this out, because I definitely want to see the Wog now. I want to see all of them team up and get into a fight with either the Imperium or any other faction that's in this world. Or while they're trying to do their thing, Chaos is trying to do its thing, and then the Tyranids are trying to do their thing at the same time. It's a giant battle.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I think that's what they hope for, Ragnarok, as they call it. That's hilarious. But the orcs are so complex. When this first started, I was believing that the orcs were dumb. But then as it went on, you find out that they have technology, they have philosophy, they are cunning, intelligent, but also extremely brutal and have an inclination for war, or to start war, not just with other races, but first amongst themselves.
Yeah, and this makes me wish that we could get that Astartes too. Because in that trailer, they had the orcs fighting a Marine, and they jumped on them. I would like to see what Simon Peterson would do with the orcs.
Yeah, I would like to see that too, because he always comes up with some unique ideas, and he has an approach to the Warhammer storytelling that most don't. Not even these people that are responsible for creating cinematics have that type of approach. And
some of the imagery on these orcs reminded me of Lockjaw from He-Man.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. But the orcs are definitely a force that I would like to see introduced into Space Marines too, whether it be through DLC or whether it be through a new, operations mode being introduced, or operations board being introduced.
Yeah, and if they don't want to bring them back on 2, definitely bring them back on 3. But the main thing, anybody that's a developer on Space Marine 2 that y'all need to be focusing on is more melee weapons.
That's what we need.
Because I want that Eviscerator on my assault class.
Shoot, I could use that too. And that does it for our reaction to this subscriber request. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also, like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
And we're out here.
Peace.